Morning, guys, and I'm glad that we're back again with recording another tutorial today, and we're doing something pretty different. I don't know if you've heard about this airport, but supposedly has a bad name to it, which is the Mangalore airport. So it's a tabletop runway and about 2,400 feet of length. So that's how the runway looks like. I have an interesting it has an interesting history to it. Too many crashes happening at this airport, and so I could just probably put Mangalore. So just about 2019 there was a crash which happened on the flight of Air India. So it was a 737-800, and it was a pretty tragic accident, unnecessary accident, partly due to the safety issues of the airport. So yeah, so I have found this image which possibly explains the best in terms of what exactly happened. So that's the airport. So you can see that it's on a mountain, which is still fine, but the issue is on the fact that if you miss out on the touchdown zone. So this infographic basically explains you the similar thing, that if you miss out on the touchdown zone, then basically you are left with more or less very less time. So either if you miss out the touchdown zone, the best decision to take is basically to go for a worm, right? Now that's what happened with one of the Air India flights 1 year back, in which you can see it did miss out on the touchdown zone, right? So it says that there was a loud noise which was heard by the passengers to that when a tire burst. Saturday's touchdown 3,000 to 4,000 feet, which means plane overshot the runway by at least 2,000 feet. 2,000 feet is a lot. So they basically have already taken, you can say, pretty large part of the runway is already gone, and that's why it's always stressed in any of the tutorials, or in if you go to any flight school, that the most important part is not a smooth landing, but landing at the right space, right? The touchdown zone. And a lot of people just focus on getting your feet per second lower, and getting a lower G. In fact, even in the tutorials, and that's actually not a safe landing. So I mean, you should be practicing on getting the plane landed in the touchdown zone, right? So this becomes even critical for today's flight, and I thought that just why not, let's just make a I have flown this route before, and I thought why not record it and possibly share it with you so that you guys can practice it too. So I'm gonna get right to it, and let's start with the flight planning. So I basically use SimBrief, as you already know, and in order to keep this video short, if you would like to practice, my suggested route would be to depart from VOGO, which is basically the Goa airport, and the arrival is VOML, Victor Oscar Mike Lima, right? We'll be flying a 737-800, so there we go. And we need to be careful about which arrival airport arrival runway we use in VOML. The reason being 6 does not have an ILS for sure, so you need to select 24, right? So departing runway would be 08 and arrival would be 24. So that's how it's going to look like. So basically we'll be flying through the coast, and that's very so it's a pretty straightforward route, not many twists and turns which are expected. So I'm going to generate the initial the flight plan, and so I'm just gonna copy this and put it in my AVI tab so it helps. So just give me some time. Alright, so the flight plan is ready. I think we can get started. Alright, so we're in a cold dark state, so that's how the airport looks like. It's a nice airport, VOGO, which is an airport in Panjim in Goa. So let's get started. I'm gonna turn off the battery. Ground power is available, so ground power is on. I'm gonna quickly not waste a lot of time and get the IRS to align. Okay, since I updated my ZIBO, I need to just quickly look if everything is as per my config settings. So just give me a second. So okay, that's fine. Configuration and realisms. I wanted this to be short so that you guys are not really bored watching the IRS align for such a long time. And okay, so that's fine. Audio, okay. I really don't like the FMC talking too much, because it's kind of a distraction, specifically when I try to land and the FMC keeps on just saying glide slope, and it's pretty distracting for me. Okay, we're gonna have to check this. I suppose I have selected correctly. kgs, that's fine. So let's see if that works. So IRS is aligning me, but just let me check if that's the problem with updating ZIBO or any flight for that matter, right? So let's get the flight plan. So that's our flight plan. We can start putting on the fuel. So we're expecting to use about 5690 of fuel. So meanwhile the fueling happens, I'm just gonna start putting in the required fuel and get the fuel truck. Oh, now what's that? Oh, that's, oh, again settings issues. And that's have to be kept real, I suppose. I don't know why is that not working. That's strange. Anyways, so I suppose there's some issues, or probably my settings are incorrect, and the iris is taking iris. Okay, so the iris is just gonna. So let's put in the position. So iris is aligned. I'm gonna put in the payload, so we can look at the permissible weight that we can carry. So considering it will also calculate and gives us what is the expected landing weight, which definitely helps. So there we go. So the estimated takeoff weight is about 65.7, and that will give us a landing weight of about 63.9, so about 64 tons, so which is heavy, but I'll try to reduce it so that we have not too much. So about 15,000 kgs. So that's about 63. So yeah, I think we can increase that to about 17,000 maybe. I mean, the reason I'm doing is this to so that I don't come in too heavy while landing, uh, and I have to just increase the speed, considering it's a tabletop, and I'm not the best of the best pilots, right? Or at least I don't want to think that way. So trying to keep it about 64, so you can expect about you can clearly see here, so 65.7, so we're losing about 2 tons of fuel. So in the same settings, you would land about 61, 62, right? Hence, all right, so we can start the flight leg. Let's get this to a little more bright, and let's get the flight planning done. So VOGO, Victor Oscar Golf Oscar is our reference airport. Q3 route will be from VOGO to VOML. Our call sign has always been SP737. The runway, I suppose we can look at the data. So I'm going to keep the flight plan open. Zero 08. Okay. So fueling is already done. Cruising altitude. It's about 23,000. You can see here. It's a very short distance flight, hence the cruising altitude will be less. So wind information, we're going to take the top of climb 296017 to 96007, is it? Yeah, 017. Minus 23. Okay, the temperature outside at cruising. I reserve is gonna be always somewhere close to 1.1, although you could, oh sorry, that's not what I wanted. Already you could in fact put in the exact one as well. So hey, fin rest 1.1, right? So that's about 30 minutes of extra fuel time in case you have to divert to an alternate airport. So that's my basic data, which is perf. Now let's I'm gonna stake 24k to the rate incline 1 settings. I'm gonna take 5-degree flaps. That should give me the center of gravity then. So my trim settings will be 4.75, so almost same. Alright, so let's get to the departure 08, and we can see in the flight plan that where is the routing? Yeah. So submit up Cadmi is what my SID is going to be, standard instrument departure. If you guys don't know how to read charts and flight plans, I have covered this in my different video on FMC programming. Do check it out. Submit up, and what's the transition? Kadmi. Okay. So anyways, let's just see where it takes us. Kadmi doesn't look like a transition. It looks like we're going direct to Kadmi. Anyways, if you are in doubt, what we could also do is we could also look at the charts for VOGO. So just give me a second as I put that chart in the avatar so that you can see it. I want to keep on switching windows. Yeah, so now let's look at what Kadmi is. My best guess is it is a waypoint because the transition is not given here. Okay, so let's see. Standard, hopefully it's published, else we're gonna have to take some decisions. So there you go. Right, so that's meetup, and from meetup it's VXCT. Okay, so going towards the coast, right? So it has to be in this direction. I can see Kadmi, so unless you guys see it, that would be a shame. Horat, Vetol, BBM, Pexo, Okla. Not really. So sorry. So I'm gonna put that as a waypoint. Where were we? We were in the departure. Sorry. So Horat doesn't seem like okay. Just checking if it still makes sense to use either Horat. We could still do that. So Horat, where is Horat? Exo, Meta, Vixet, Horat. Okay, but that's toward the south, and yeah, actually we're going towards the south. So we could in fact use Horat as the transition, because we are going towards almost 148 degrees and we are going towards the south. So that sounds like a plan, and right. So let's take Horat as the transition. It's not a problem, and it takes us to Kanti. Okay. So now we need to look at whether that makes sense by looking at the flight plan. Kanti, right? So that works. So it does take us to Kanti, and so we end up at Kanti, where exactly where we wanted to be. And now let's check the arrival airport, which is, I said, we have to select ILS 24, and that's it. So let's just activate that, right? And we'll do some changes. I'm just gonna connect that waypoint. Wonderful. Now, as you saw, there was no standard arrival procedures in the Mangalore airport, right? And hence there would be some steep changes at the end. And what we'll do is, since we are not flying on Watson, see, there we see, right, what I meant. So you can see you're just directly coming from Kanti and you're going to take a right turn, expecting to land. So that's going to be very difficult to do, uh, right, considering that you just have about 254. So 7 plus 4, 11, not 11, so 7 miles to actually get aligned and descend. So a lot of activities happening at the same point. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a waypoint, right? Now the key to doing that is, you can see the heading of the runway is about 239. So you just need to calculate the exact opposite of 239. So um, so easy formula to do that is 239 plus 180, which is the exact opposite, which is going to give you 419. So 419 really is not a real degree, right? So just reduce 360 from that, and that should give you about 59 degrees, right? So I'm going to take C124 and write 059 as the heading, right? And considering we're I mean descending from about 23,000 feet directly, so let me take at least about 12 or 10 miles at max, right? Sorry, so so we can plan for 10 miles. So what I can do is put in as 010 and click on the same waypoint, right? So there you go, that's your new waypoint that you just created, and you can connect both of them, right? Now you are saying that from Kanti we got about 83 miles, so you descend to 4,000 feet, right? So which is pretty good. From there you get 10 miles to get aligned and reduce your speed from 229 to about 172, and after that you obviously get into the approach mode, right? So that's the flight plan. So most likely that should work. That's how I had flown it the last time, right? So our performance settings are done, and okay, just have a quick check on the altitudes, if that is all settings, so that's fine. So okay, this looks good. uh, let's get now everything else ready. So I'm gonna put the brakes to RTO. Let's set the course setting to 081. That's going to be our runway heading, so 081. So we'll get the MCV set. Wonderful. We're going to take the V1 speeds at 144. heading to 081. Our first altitude restriction about 6,000. I'll put that in the MCB. You can put your cruising altitude also here. And 081. Wonderful. So the MCB is set. I'm gonna put the same cruising altitude out here for the pressure settings. The reason why I do this is I don't want to forget it. About 358 feet is our landing altitude. Wonderful. Let's start the fuel pumps. Hydraulics. Get the flaps. Flaps are set. Flight controls are on. Okay. We can just switch on the displays to a little more brighter version of it. We're gonna get rid of the dome light in some time. Alright, let's look at what the altimeter settings are. You can just click on the details in the map, and 2979 is what my altimeters are settings are. So there you go, 2979. Put in the post officer. Wonderful. Let's take the ILS frequencies for the arrival runway, which is going to be 1110.1. Oh, wonderful, it's already set. It's nice. What are the minimums? Minimums you can see, because I think we're going to be deactivating about 1000 feet, so I'm going to take that as the localizer minimums at the 840. Put in the first office section as well. Oops. Alright, let's get the APU started. So I'll leave that, it will start by itself. We'll arm the exits, and I think we're mostly done. We're just gonna get the floodlights on out here. The panel is set to bright. Okay, let's get a better pushback. Okay, so runway 06, I forgot to see where we are supposed to go. So it is the right side, so there's only one taxi, so basically backtrack to 08 and then take off. So okay, so it doesn't really matter, so we're gone. So most likely I'll try to, where are we facing today? Oh, so we're gonna face east. Right, that should work. Can you do that?
Round to cockpit, plan acknowledged. Call me through the menu when you are ready.
Ready to go.
Round to cockpit, tow is driving up.
Switch power to APU. Alright, let's get our anti-collision lights on so that the crew knows that we are ready to begin. I'm going to keep the AP bleeds on. Switch the map to I'm gonna switch off this light.
Okay, all doors and hatches are closed, ready to connect.
Yeah, so once the setting was changed, I haven't really flown this plane, so I hope my settings are correct. It's gonna be a adventurous flight.
So connected and bypass pin inserted. Release parking brake.
Parking brake is released.
Starting pushback, and you may start engines.
Right, so let's start the engines. Engine 2. So pressure is about 25.9, so I'm gonna start my second lever. Alright, first engine started. Let's start the second engine. So about 6:40 local time. Okay, starting my second engine.
Operation complete. Set parking brake.
Right.
Disconnecting tow. Stand by.
Let's open the right. So this is where we're gonna be landing, right? So from 24, and this used to be the old runway, the 27, and look at the profile of the runway, the old runway. Whoa! So it's an elevation and then the descent. What I've also seen is that the 24 and 06, which is the new
Tow
runway.
is disconnected and bypass pin has been removed. Hand signal will be on the right. We'll see you next time and have a great flight.
The new runway is nothing very great or different. It still has these bumpiness which you would expect. Okay, so let me just check. Okay, so I'm gonna release my parking brakes. Let's okay. So slight power increase. I want to reach to a good taxiing speed about 10 to 15 and keep it there. Remember, we have to take a right from here, so I think the numbers are good.
Approaching 2-6. On runway 26.
Alright, I think we did miss out some things, which is to switch power and switch off the APU. That's bad flying. I forgot to switch off the APU, stun the conditioning and the anti-ice. Now we're done. Alright, so let me just adjust this light now. Since we are already on the runway, I am gonna start the transponders. Let's get the strobe lights on.
Okay, the cabin is secured. Have a good flight.
Engine set to continuous. Okay, that's our turnaround. Alright, it's awfully long backtracking.
On runway 08.
Okay, so I'm gonna slight increase my thrust and then push the toga. Oops. Slight pressure, power pressure. Till about 80 knots. What is that? Releasing forward pressure.
V1 rotate.
Rotate.
Positive grade.
Gear up.
$400.
Alright, altimeter setting to standard.
1,000.
Runway lights off. So there was an unnecessary distraction which happened in between. I think accidentally pressed T, which opened the text box, and that's what created the entire confusion. Anyways, so we're airborne. So let's see how much time we're gonna take. So
1,000 to go.
let's look at the top of descent. I'm gonna increase my MCV altitude, otherwise it's not gonna cruise. 23,000. Wonderful. So top of descent is about 90 miles, about 132 as per the clock here. It's about 16 minutes, so not much. And landing is expected, touchdown is expected about 50. So that's about 45 minutes from here, approximately. So local time it's gonna be about 7:30 a.m. So yeah, so we have passed through. We're still in the same airspace at this point, and if you want to see where we are, we could also look at this set chart, right? So what we've done is we've taken off from 081, right? So you can clearly see that we've taken that right turn and we are going towards GA 429, right? Which has the altitude restriction about 4,000 feet. After that, it's going to be GA 425, which has an altitude restriction about 6,000. Right, so hence the 6,000 is selected, and then we move on to Horat, which then becomes the transition. It's about 14,900 feet. So after that doesn't really matter, but this the initial restrictions are as we discussed. Alright, so that closes the chapter for the departing airport. Now let's get start. Okay, have we crossed 8 or 10,000? No. Okay, so let's doesn't have a star chart, but we'll definitely get to know where we're coming from. So Mangalore is towards south, so basically coming from Kanti, if you see here, right? So from Kanti is about 155 and through airway 15, and then we're going towards the left, and you can see here in this area it is mentioned that this is about 6,000 feet, right? So you need to be above 6,000 feet, and so this distance is not mentioned out here, right? And also mentions about the 5.8, you need to be at about 2,200 feet. This runway is ILS Cat 1, which basically means that it's not an auto land, does not have an auto land feature available. That's the holding pattern which are given here, right? So the landing runway system is also explained here. Let's look at the actual runway. So that's about 2,450 meters, which is, I would say, sufficient enough if you land at the right zone. As I was saying, that's the old runway 2709, and you can clearly see it is not a easy runway to land, the old one, and hence the new one was created. And also the new runway is nothing, it's not easy either. If you see here, it's about 308 feet at this end, and on the other end it's about 307, right? Now that might look like, okay, the runway is really stable, but when you actually see the runway, you will realize that about the touchdown zone it's flat, and then it just slopes and then it elevates. So it's about, you know, up and down, and which can create some difficulty in identifying or perfecting your flares, and hence that will not be my objective in this landing. Whenever I land here, my objective is to just get the plane landed safely at the touchdown zone, which my objective is. I disregard the entire the quality of landing in terms of the feet per minute and the and whatever the G numbers which are published. The focus is on touching down at the correct zone, right? So it's an interesting and the exit is towards the end out here. That's the new apron which is created here, right? So from E you can just take an exit and go to any of these stands. Or that's the old runway, the old apron, for which you might have to backtrack. So that's not going to happen. So we're going to be coming to the end, taking the exit towards the E and parking in any of these aprons. Alright, coming to the approach, right? So as you can see here, we had created one waypoint out here. We're going to be taking that turn, coming to 40 degrees, and then attempted to land. So about 5.8, which I showed you in the previous chart, they expect us to be at about 2,200 feet, and at about 5 to about 1900. So you can just cross check that actually. So about 5.8 from the airport, so that's about 5.8, right? So we are at about 2,200, and after that at about 5 miles you're supposed to be at about 1900, and about 2 miles to be at 950. So we're gonna be using the ILS approach till about 2 miles. At about 950, the plane, the autopilot feature will get us till 2 miles. Post that, we're gonna be disconnecting the autos, and hopefully we'll make the landing a safe landing. But so I think we are off the last waypoint, SID waypoint, we can say GA429, and now we'll ascend to about 17,000 feet. So we're going to be crossing about 9,700 feet now, and at that moment I'm gonna just keep the fast seat belts to auto. So some wonderful scenery out here. So since we are flying through the coast, so we went out. We came out of Goa through the coast. Right, and so you want to see that in the map. That's how it's looking, right? So we are coming here, and then I believe we should take a left turn and go towards the south. And yeah, right. So you can see that taking the left, and then we fly across the coast all the way till the end to Mangalore. That's our turn. It's a beautiful sunrise. Happening from the east. No, there's a ship there. Look at that. So we're due to reach about our top of climb. As you know, 4 minutes actually away from the top of descent as well. So I told you it's a very short flight, very interesting one. 150 we're expecting to actually land also.
5,000 to go.
Okay, so that's our next turn as we get closer to the coast. I just wanted to check out the weather. Hopefully I can get something. No weather information, wonderful. So I can get some information from the internet itself. Okay, so fantastic. So we're gonna be having some wind. It's gonna be interesting, but not much actually. About 10 knots. So a few clouds are expected. Alright, so I'm gonna set the MCB to my landing altitude, which is about 2,200. Else the VNAV won't work. So do always remember to reset. So we're approaching on the top of descent soon. I'm just gonna conclude my weather search. So about 5 knot from the east is expected. Okay. So that will be up from about 090, and visibility is about 3,000 meters, so it's just fine. Scattered clouds at about 800 feet. Okay. Mist. Okay, so no rain. Mostly looks good. Shouldn't be an issue. So top of descent approaching, and hopefully we can get some altimeter settings in some time. Okay, so that's the deceleration happening, and I need to put in the... How strange. Okay. So we're gonna get the descent checklist done. So we know the arrival runway is about 24. We're gonna calculate a performance. So let's go to the performance page, about 63.5 tons. So I'm gonna put that in 63.5 ton. Runway 24, flap 30. I'm gonna use flap 30. I don't see the necessity. So wind is about 5 from 090. Right. Since this since we're going to be facing runways about 239, right? So 239 and 90, so most likely it's going to be a crosswind, but not much worry because it's about 5 knots, so it's not going to do much to us. Alright, So as you can see here, when I put in the details, I have 2340 meters, and if I have to stop at the end, I don't want to stop at the end, right? So I'm going to be using max auto and try to stop uh, in the mid of the runway, right? So that's the safest possible setting, so I am going to select max. I still don't have the QNH. Oh, now I have it. So 2976. So I set 090 at 5. That's perfect. 2976. So let me just put in that. So there's our about same pressure as the departing airport that we're coming from. So I've selected the auto brakes as max auto is about 1321. Right. So if we do that, we stop at about here. Along with that, if we add the manual brakes, then we will stop somewhere around here at about 1000 meters, which is I think the safest, considering that we land at the correct point, right? Alright, so that's basically our performance descent checklist. Let's just open it. Landing altitude is verified, system initiators done, VREF. So let's select the VREF. So 146 plus 5, 151, that's what we got. We've set the minimums, we've set the navigation radius, and we've set the auto brakes. Only thing we have not done is informed our passengers that we're descending. So about 136 now, just about 15 minutes, so you can see it in our maps. That's our turn, right? You take that turn, and that's the only turn actually. So I suppose that's where we're going. Okay, so I'm going to set the course to 240 so that the ILS is captured. Both at first officer as well as the captains. How long was that? So we're descending about 1500 feet per minute. We're already up to about 13,500. So I'm gonna switch on the seatbelt sign, and we're gonna inform our crew to prepare for landing. So it's gonna happen very quick. 138. Let's see the new expected times 152. So not much. 14 minutes to touchdown. So we are at about 7:10 local time. So it says visibility of 4 and wind from 090 at 5. So I'm going to set the heading to 240. So these are the dangerous surroundings that we're talking about. As the airport, the chart said that you want to be above 6,000 feet, and I think that's precisely the reason why, right? Because I suppose we're going to be taking a right from still about 20 miles away actually. So there's he. There's our wind. So it's mostly going to be a tailwind, sort of a tailwind. So almost at about 6,500 feet, uh, 10 miles from our last waypoint, you can say. And then we get into the final approach, and we already set our auto brakes. We'll do a landing checklist just before So it's filled with some decent sized mountains out here, hence this entire airport is a little tricky in that sense. Okay, so that's our turn, and I think we are already set, so we're going to flap speed brake and flap 1. And that's where we land. Yeah. Alright, reducing a speed 209, we expect to be at 170, so I'm going to flap 2. So this is at the altimeter. The passenger sign is also on. We're reducing our speed to about 180 first. I'm going to flap 5. So I'm a little quick doing that because I don't want to be caught off guard, you know, screaming through the runway. You can see post if you go for a turnaround, go
1,000
around,
to go.
then so we go for this 2000 is our go around altitude, so that's also set. 180 is the speed. We reduce the speed to 1. We're gonna go to flap 10 and reduce our speed further to about 175. We can go to 170 as well. The ILS is visible, and the approach should be the approach button should be activated in some time. We're gonna go ahead and do nothing. So as you can see, that's what I'm talking about. It's on top of a small you can say a mountain, right? So glide slope is active. I'm gonna arm the approach and gear down, flap 15, reduce the speed to 165. About 6 miles away, about 18 feet. If you remember, about 5 DME, we are supposed to be at 1900, so we're exactly doing that. We're going to go to flap 20, reduce the speed versus to 160. So about 5 miles away, I'm going to flap 30 and now reduce the speed to our performance speed calculated, which as you remember it's about 151. Wonderful. So we get 151. We're 4 miles away from touchdown. I'm gonna set the landing lights on, taxi off, engine set, continuous, and we're set. At about 900 feet we will disconnect auto and we'll try to land manually.
Approaching
1,000 feet
minimums.
stabilized, Mr. Perch, altitude set.
Minimums.
Minimums continue.
Approaching 24.
So we're on profile. Too high.
500. 400.
Slide low.
Flight slow. Flight slow. Flight slow.
3200. 100.
Flight slow.
50. 40. 30.
Check close. Floating a little bit. Speed brakes on.
$80 knots.
Okay, reverse is off. Brakes are off. Auto brakes. Look at that. I mean, it's right off the cliff. Alright, so we have vacated the runway. We'll taxi to the new apron. So that was tricky as ever. So I don't put too much tension on the landing plug-in rate, at least at this airport, and just make sure that even if we are a little higher rate of descent, we still touch down at the right moment. I felt that possibly I float a little bit because at about 300 feet, that's the reason why I don't try to follow the glide slope indicated in the PFD below 300 feet, because it just gives you a very different picture. So just try to follow the puppies. That makes more sense. Alright, so I'll switch off the transponders. The taxi should have been on. Alright guys, welcome to Mangalore, and hopefully we can get a space quick so we don't waste much time looking for a space. Okay, I think there is. Let's just take this. Slow down. Right. We slightly went forward. I think the brakes were not working. Some problem with the keys. And look at that fluttering again. What is that? Don't tell me my joystick issues have come back again. That's gonna be the issue. Anyways, so we don't have ground power, but we'll start the APU. And I'm going to reduce the engine speed a little bit, thrust a little bit. Let's let the seat belts be on for a while. Meanwhile, we can get the anti-ice off. So anti-ice is off. So the APU should be available, and let's look at. Oh, thank you so much. So I would agree to this, the last point, mainly because there was slightly too high, and there was no way I could have landed at that height at that moment, and hence I descended a little more than what probably should have been done. But anyways, so let me switch power to APU, cut off the engine, switch off the fuel pump, anti-collision can go off, seatbelts can go off, hydraulics can go off. The most interesting part of the flight is actually looking at, and there we are, doing your post-landing analysis, and that's where we are. See, I'll tell you where I felt that I was a little too higher. So I just as this cliff started, yeah, and that's where I realized, oh, I'm a little too high, and let me just descend a little more faster. And you can see that it's at about 900, about 1000 feet per minute, and that's why I float a little bit. So see, there you go. And as I was saying, if you just look at this runway, right, it's pretty interesting to see. That's the old runway. So there you go, that's elevation, and then there's slope. So it becomes very difficult to judge when you should be flaring. That makes this airport pretty interesting to land on, and look at the I mean, look at the space. I mean it's just on top of a cliff. Right, and I know that there are a lot of worse airports than this, but if you get the point, that if you do miss out on the touchdown zone, it can be a little tricky. Right, so that's how we were coming. So if you look at the tower view, sort of tower view, so that's how we came down. And float a little bit, somehow made it to the touchdown zone. Okay, so let's try to look at it from a different angle. So there was no wind so we didn't have to do any decrabbed approach. See, there you go. Look at that. I'll tell you what I'm happy about. I'm happy about the fact that we did touch down on the we didn't make contact in the touchdown zone, which is, I think, the most critical part of this airport, at least considering that's about just half of what general airport lengths are. Second thing, I think the flare was decent. I mean, the only way to judge flare is to look at it from a different angle. Not this angle, just give me a second. Yeah. We just want to be at the end of the threshold. That's what I'm trying to do. Right, so we did hold the altitude pretty well. So I'll just try to do that one more last time. Let's try this out. This view can be a little exaggerated, but I think nevertheless, there you go. So do you understand, even if you flare, the slope increases, right? See how it goes. That's the funny part about this airport. I wouldn't say, although it's fun for simulation and challenges, but definitely not safe. Okay, that's any other view possible. Alright, so it was an acceptable turned hard landing, which is funny. And the reason, as I said, I don't concentrate on that, but still, I mean, if you still have to look at it, just because of the slope, right? You see, look at that. Whoa, can't even see that. Slide off to the wrong center line, just fine. Alright, so that's it in this video from me. I hope you enjoyed watching. Hope you try to practice this. And it's a pretty challenging airport, and but these are the airports where you want to do some practice to get your skills sharpened a little more. So guys, thank you for watching, and please do help me share these videos with as many people as you think that might be useful for, and yeah, do share your feedback, comments, whether it's technical, whether it's non-technical, it doesn't matter. So alright, thank you guys, I'll see you next time.